Welcome to InterviewPro. In this video, let's learn how to add custom validations for this whole form. So, I have created a directive inside the shared folder called formValidator.directive.ts. So, in this, we are going to create a custom validator. Let's add a function here. Function form validator. This is going to take an abstract control as input and return key value pair as the output. Let's import them. So we have abstract control inside Angular forms. So this control doesn't represent individual controls. It represents the whole form. In Angular, form group also inherits from the type abstract control. So if you look at the console, let me inspect, go to console, click on submit. Remember, we added a console when we submit. So if you open form group in the prototype, you will notice abstract control. Now let's add the validations. So this form has two required fields, name and feedback. If these two values are provided, we consider this form as valid. Otherwise, it's an invalid form. We also have checks for the number of characters that the name is gonna accept, but let's not worry about it. Let's keep the form validation simple for now. So inside this form validator function, let me take a constant name, which is control.get username. So if you remember, this is how we access a individual control from the form, right? So similarly, let me copy paste and rename it to feedback. And we get the control feedback. So if we have name and we have feedback and there is a value for the name and there is a value for feedback, then it's valid. If there is no value for name and feedback, then we are going to return an error. And let's call this error as invalid form and return true. This says the form is invalid. So if the form is valid, we'll simply return null. So add a return keyword here, then we are done. Don't forget to export this function, otherwise we cannot use it in other components. Now this validator is ready. Let me just make it caps. So we have to import this inside feedback component. We are using formBuilder.group. So in the previous video, we created a forbidden name validator, and that is a control level validator. But now we have a form level validator. So if you look at the second argument here, we have something called validator. This takes a validator function. So let me create an object which says validator and copy paste the function that we have created, and don't forget to import it here. Now let's submit the form without entering name and feedback. So in the submit method, we have a console log which displays the form group. And look at this. Now form group has something called errors, and inside this we have invalid form :true. This is what we have returned here. So if I enter some name and some feedback, let me clear the console and click on submit. If you open form group, errors is null. That means there are no validation errors in this form. So the errors object is null because we are returning null, if these conditions are satisfied. So previously, when we had error at the control level, we took the control and found an object called errors, and inside that we had properties like required, min length, forbidden name validator, etc. Now, this validation is at the form level. So we'll find that errors object inside this feedback form. So let's display the error. I want this error to be displayed only when there is errors object inside feedback form. So first we need to check if the feedback form is properly loaded or not. Then if it has a property called errors, and then inside errors if there is a property called invalid form. If all these conditions are satisfied, then we want to display a message: form is invalid. Please provide username and feedback. Let's go back to the screen. So now we see the error because there is no data for name and feedback. But once I start entering the data, it's gone. But let's add a condition that both the values should be present in order for a form to be valid. So let's go back to form validator directive. And instead of putting an AND condition here, let's put an OR, so that this form is valid only when both the values are provided. Now we have the error. I enter something in name, but the error is still there, and I enter something in the feedback. Now the error is gone because the form is valid. So this is how you create a custom validator for the whole form and add it to the form builder.group like this. If you want to add it to form group, you don't need to provide validator key here. You can directly provide the function like this. So try this out with form group. I hope the concept is clear. If you like the content, please like, share, and subscribe to InterviewPro. Thank you.